Creativity, talent, genius. We hear these words all the time, but what's the actual difference between them? Think about it. Is a brilliant musician creative, or are they talented? Is a groundbreaking scientist a genius, or maybe both? The lines can get incredibly blurry. So in the next few minutes, we're going to build a framework that makes these distinctions crystal clear.
Right? What is the real difference? Can a person be super talented but not very creative, or could you be a genius without having a specific talent? We're going to move beyond just arguing about words. Instead, we're going to build a visual model, kind of like a blueprint, that shows you exactly how these concepts fit together and build on top of each other.
So here's our roadmap. First, we'll lay out a simple three-part tool for understanding pretty much any system. Then, we'll use it to look at a person at the most basic level possible. And from there, we're just going to build up, layer by layer, adding creativity, then talent, and finally genius, until we have the whole picture right in front of us.
Okay, to really nail this down, we need a precise tool. So instead of just getting stuck debating definitions, we're going to use what's called a systemic approach. It's a way of breaking each idea down into its core parts so we can see exactly how a person evolves from just existing all the way to expressing true genius.
And here's our tool. It's actually brilliantly simple. For any system we look at, we just have to ask three questions. First, what's the core idea, the concept or purpose? Second, what's its structure? How do all the parts connect and work together? And third, what's its substrate? What's it physically made of? And what does it need to keep going? All right, let's put it to work.
So, time to apply this framework. We're going to start at the absolute foundation, a person, just as a biological being. Before there's any art or inventions or any big ideas at all, we are simply living organisms trying to make it in the world.
Using our framework, the core concept here is just life itself, that fundamental drive to exist. The structure is the constant back and forth between our own biology and the social world we live in. And the substrate? Well, that's just our most basic physiological needs. We're talking survival here. Food, water, shelter, the bottom level of Maslow's hierarchy. But we're so much more than just survival machines, right? We're driven to do more than just exist. And that brings us to the next level in our model, the person as a creative being. And this is where it gets really fascinating.
Just look at the jump in complexity here. The concept isn't just life anymore. It's life with creative expression. The structure becomes this really dynamic conversation between our nature, our talents, and our very sense of self. And the substrate, what we need, it expands from just survival to the full range of human desires, all the way up to self-actualization. Putting them side by side like this makes the transformation so clear. On the left, you've got a system that's just running on basic needs. But on the right, you have a system that's driven by a search for meaning and purpose. That creative drive doesn't just add a new feature. It fundamentally changes the whole game. It's the foundation for everything that comes next.
Okay, so you're probably wondering, where do talent and genius fit into all this? Well, here's the crucial idea. They aren't completely separate things. They're actually levels within the system of a creative person. It's kind of like those Russian nesting dolls of potential, where each one is contained inside the last.
So we start here. Our new foundation, our new baseline is the creative person. This is the system that has moved past simple survival. It's now driven by a deep need to express, to build, to make something new. You can think of this as the fertile ground from which talent can start to grow.
And right out of that creative ground, talent emerges. It's like a focused pattern, what some might call an attractor. So if creativity is this huge, wide-open field of possibilities, talent is like a deep channel that's being carved into it, where all that potential can flow consistently and powerfully, whether that's into music or math or art.
And just like that, we add the next layer to our model. We now have a system for a person who isn't just creative in some general sense, but who has a focused, stable, and recognizable talent. They have that specific channel to pour their creative energy into. But there is still one final level. And this brings us to genius. This is something truly rare. It's the ability to take all of that creative potential and all of that focused talent and at one crucial moment, aim it all like a laser beam in a single world-changing direction. It's about total convergence that has a universal impact. And here we can see the whole hierarchy. The system is finally complete. You've got this broad foundation of creativity, which gets sharpened by a focused talent, which then allows for the ultimate expression of genius. And notice, you can't have one level without the one below it. You can't just skip a step. This quote just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? I mean, you can probably be creative without a really defined talent, sure, but it seems you just can't be a genius without one. This model suggests that genius isn't some random spark of magic. It's the ultimate application of a deeply, deeply honed talent.
So let's put it all together and take a look at the final model that this whole framework gives us. What we end up with is a really clear hierarchical way to understand these incredibly powerful concepts.
This chart really maps out the entire journey we just took. We start with that simple biological being, low complexity. Then look at that huge jump when creativity enters the picture. The whole system gets way more complex. And genius? Well, that represents the absolute peak, the most complex, and, of course, the rarest state of human potential. So, the crucial takeaway here is this. Creativity, talent, and genius aren't separate options on a menu. They are nested levels. We all start with that biological foundation. Creativity is what elevates us and gives us purpose. Talent is what focuses that creative energy. And genius is the ultimate and rarest application of it all.
So why does any of this really matter? Because creativity isn't just some fancy thing for artists and scientists. It's a fundamental human tool. It's the force that lets us navigate challenges, overcome crises, and find a path forward when we're stuck. In the end, creativity is the engine of all human progress.